So, West Asia is changing, and let me tell you why it matters. On June 30, 2025, Israel launched a preemptive military strike against Iran's nuclear facility. This was under an operation called Rising Lion, and in this, they were targeting multiple Iranian nuclear facilities, military installation, and residences of senior officials. The strikes killed key figures including Hossein Salami, commander of Iran's IRGC, Major General Mohammad Bagheri, Iran's armed forces chief of staff, and top nuclear scientist. The attack focused on Iran's nuclear enrichment sites in Natanz, Kondab, Khorramabad. During this entire raid and operation, Israel dropped over 200 bombs. In retaliation, Iran launched over 100 drones toward Israeli territory, prompting Israel to activate its air defenses and prepare for further escalation. The first casualty of this attack was the global economy. Oil prices saw a spike, and all the major indices, including Nifty 50, Nasdaq 100, saw a correction, with some specific stocks in airline sector correcting up to 5%. Since the situation is developing, we don't have multiple satellite images confirming the damages at these nuclear facilities, but we do have multiple social media accounts posting from these sites and nearby these sites that tells you the extent of these damages.
الان 3:37 ورودی فرهزاد پایین بارون هم داره میاد ساختمونه که دقیقا روبروی خونه ماست. این زقومات زده زقومات کرمانشاه.
The natural question that comes to our mind is why attack now? I mean, the timing is really important. And how did this attack take place? For this, we have Brigadier General Defrin from Israel Defense Forces. Let's hear him out.
For years, the Iranian regime has called for the destruction of the State of Israel, planning and advancing concrete military plans to do so. Over the past few months, intelligence has shown that Iran is closer than ever to obtaining a nuclear weapon. This morning, the IDF began preemptive and precise strikes targeting the Iranian nuclear program in order to prevent the Iranian regime's ability to build a nuclear bomb in the immediate time frame. We have no choice. We are operating against an imminent and existential threat. We cannot allow the Iranian regime to obtain a nuclear weapon that would be a danger to Israel and the entire world. This operation is for our right to exist here, for our future, and for our children's future. The State of Israel has the right and the obligation to operate in order to protect its people and will continue to do so. The IDF conducted significant preparations for this operation. We are well prepared both in defense and offense to defend ourselves. The IDF
Now, this is in line with IAEA findings, International Atomic Energy Association. The UN Nuclear Watchdog's Board of Governors formally found that Iran is not complying with its nuclear obligation for the first time in 20 years. The UN Nuclear Watchdog's 35 nation Board of Governors declared Iran is in breach of its non proliferation obligations on Thursday for the first time in almost 20 years. Now, this perfectly fits with Israeli PM's existential threat justification and his reasoning that this campaign was aimed at defeating an existential threat from Iran, invoking the failure to halt the Holocaust in World War II. Israel's operation will continue for as many days as it takes to remove this threat. Quoting some other notable figures, specifically Chief of Staff of IDF, civilians of Israel, these are decisive days. We are currently at a start of a new phase in operation to secure our future. The IDF began Operation Rising Lion tonight in order to strategically strike the threats from Iranian regime against state of Israel. We are amidst a historic campaign unlike any other. This is a critical operation to prevent an existential threat by an enemy who is intent to destroying us. We began this operation because our time has come. We are at a point of no return. We cannot afford to wait for another time to operate. We have no other choice. Recent past events of history have taught us that when enemy is attempting to destroy us, we must not turn a blind eye. As such, we need to fight for our existence. The freedom is given to those willing to fight for it. But honestly, this attack was unlike any other that we have seen in the past from IDF. They were able to go deep inside Iranian territory and able to attack sensitive targets like nuclear bases multiple times with like more than 200 bombs. So let's get into the nitty gritty detail of how they were able to execute this attack. Now, I'm quoting Chief of Staff of IDF here. We have been preparing for this operation for a long time now. Unprecedented efforts have been made across all branches and all directorates to achieve readiness against the tangible and present threat. At this time, I ask that you support the IDF troops and security forces who are operating with strength and determination, both in near and far fronts. They are defending us all at a great risk to their lives. We are calling up tens of thousands of soldiers and prepared across all borders. I warn that anyone who will try to challenge us will pay a heavy price. We are entering this operation together with one goal: to secure a safer future of state of Israel and its civilians. In a unified effort and faith, we will win. 77 years since the state of Israel was established, the nation of Jewish people founded after the Holocaust, we stand again for our survival. Unlike the past, we face an enemy as a nation and regional power, with an army like no other. Beyond the technology, operational means, and methods, we inhabit an additional unique element: the Zionist and Jewish spirit that beats within us. With this spirit and faith in a justified path, our actions will speak. Now, these are some strong words coming out from Chief of Staff of IDF, and it looks like they are in this for a long haul. And to some extent, they might be acting unilaterally without US involvement in all of this. So, this will escalate. This might not be a just one-off operation. This will be a one-off of a series of strikes that are going to happen in the future. However, we know that this cannot be done without the help of Mossad. So, what is Mossad's role in this? While official details remain classified, the precision of the strike suggests extensive involvement from Israel's intelligence agency. The targeting of specific military commanders and accurate strikes on nuclear facilities indicate deep intelligence penetration within Iranian military and nuclear programs. The operation employed tactics reminiscent of those used in Ukrainian conflict, particularly in neutralizing air defenses. Israeli forces appear to have used coordinated drone swarms to overwhelm Iranian air defenses. Electronic warfare was used to disable radar systems, precision strikes on air defense installation before the main assault, and diversionary tactics to confuse Iranian response capabilities. We have to understand in this era of unequal warfare, I would call it, when you have $1 billion bomber getting destroyed by $400 or $100 drones. This tactic puts every army and military into an existential crisis, because you can never imagine a truck filled with drones in your civilian area flying in near a military location and just neutralizing all of your military hardware. That's a nightmare for any base, any military. Now, why do I think this will escalate in future? This is not the first time when a state has attacked another state's nuclear facility. This has happened in the past. But right now it's different because the balance of power in West Asia is shifting dramatically, with Iranian regime being at its lowest in past 20, 30 years. They have change of government in Iraq, in Syria, and both of the places they are finishing the proxy war that they were doing with Israel. To some extent, Israel was able to completely dismantle Hezbollah in Jordan and Hamas in Gaza. And now they are going for the big kill, which is the head of these axis of resistance against Israel, led by Iran. So, in my opinion, Israel sees Iran as weak right now. They don't have too many chips on their plate. With Trump being a vocal supporter of Israel and to some extent having a grudge against Iran, Israel thought that this is the time to pull off this card, and that's why they went ahead with it. There's one more thing that's different about this attack. The intelligence agency of Israel actually posted video of these operations where they are destroying the air defenses capabilities and their ballistic missile launch capabilities to limit retaliation by Iran. Now, this is really rare because intelligence agencies don't usually do this while they're in the middle of war. Mossad doing this while they're starting a war with Iran just tells you about either they are cocky or they're just overconfident or they are not following the rules of the game anymore because they think uh, they're really strong than Iran in terms of technological and military capabilities. Now, it's actually a serious issue and no joke because if you are able to take out strategic capabilities, equipments like bombers, like defense system with cheap drones, and you cannot anticipate those attacks, then it is an existential crisis for any military out there now. Now let's take a look at how capitals are reacting around the world. Let's start with US because they have the most stakes in the game as their bases are going to be under attack as Iran has already threatened them. So Trump said, I gave Iran chance after chance to make a deal. I told them in the strongest of words, just do it. But no matter how hard they tried, no matter how close they got, they just could not get it done. I told them it would be much worse than anything they know, anticipated or were told, that US makes the best and most lethal military equipment anywhere in the world, and Israel has a lot of it, with much more to come, and they know how to use it. Certain Iranian hardliner spoke bravely, but they didn't know that what was about to happen. They're all dead now, and it will only get worse. There has already great there has already been a great death and destruction, but there's still time to make this slaughter stop. With next already planned attacks being even more brutal come to an end. Iran must make a deal before there is nothing left and save what was once known as Iranian Empire. No more death, no more destruction. Just do it before it is too late. God bless you all. And this was tweeted on morning of 13th June. So that means these conversations were happening in the back channels with the diplomats of Iran. Now we have statements coming from other capitals as well, specifically Asia. To some extent, India is not taking sides in this as well. It makes sense because to some extent they have stakes in the game with both of the parties involved in this, and they would like to be non-aligned as the stated policy in the past. However, other major capital in Asia, specifically Beijing, expressed concern over these attacks and urged de escalation. However, to some extent, if we read between the lines, China opposes any infringement upon Iran's sovereignty, security, and territorial integrity, and opposes any escalation of tension and expansion of conflicts. A sudden rise in regional tension is not in interest of any party. So, to some extent, they are again defending the Iranian side and not to attack their sovereignty and their territorial integrity. And that makes sense because China, Iran are more aligned than China and Israel in military aspects or to some extent in a sort of ally term against the US. Last but not least, the major capital in Asia, Moscow, is calling these strikes as unprovoked and unacceptable. On Friday, Moscow sharply condemned Israel's airstrike on Iranian territory, describing it as unprovoked and unacceptable, and warning of serious consequences for regional stability. In a strongly worded statement issued after the strike, Russian Foreign Minister said it's extremely concerned at a dangerous escalation of tension in the Middle East. The Kremlin further accused Israel of acting in blatant violation of international law. It is clear that Israel's authorities have made a conscious choice in favor of further escalation of tensions. Now, clearly, we can see sides being taken, and it is a world war setup that's happening to some extent. Clearly, US and Israel will be in one camp, and Russia is taking the side of Iran right now, with China giving a soft backup. India, New Delhi right now is not taking sides. They are still calling for restoration of peace without even taking a negative statement against any of these parties. So let's see how things evolve. But this has a major implication on oil economy for sure, because any escalation in Middle East or Persian Gulf or Red Sea will impact all supplies, trade, and business in general. It looks like our world is getting set up for a really turmoil phase in next 3 to 4 years. Wherever you are watching this, in whatever country, in whatever language, whatever ethnicity, whatever race, religion, stay safe.